D, consideration of a planned unit development referred to as Remington PUD consisting of 715 residential units on 9.83 acres of commercially designated land.
Mr. Chair, so before I start, please ask me to explain anything. There are lots of details. It's a big part. I'm not going to be able to cover all the stuff we have. However, luckily enough, some of the comments that I heard from the public, I already have answered to them as part of my preparation for the meeting. So the site we're talking about is the same site here. And what we're talking about, I'm just going over the numbers here. So they're talking about 400 lots, single family, say 15 units, which will be attached, and there will be about 10 or 9.8 acre to be exact commercial. Commercial will be here along Union, and this was one of the big discussion items we had over a year and a half between staff and the applicant. Because the whole idea is to make our main corridors more active. And as far as I recall, some of the members here, I mean the community members, were talking about where would you go, like shopping and where you get your stuff. The whole goal is that the whole site here will be self-sufficient, and it will be also a destination, because 10 acres that will allow for a lot of different commercial use, which is the goal the city has emphasized in all the documents. I mean, comprehensive plan, all the economic studies with it. We have very short supply of commercial sites. That gives you an idea of the layout. This is very general. This is commercial here, what I was talking about. The access is going to be from Union. This area is going to be townhomes, and all of the back of it is going to be single detached. And we asked the applicant to submit a phasing plan, because we need to know how it's actually going to be built up. You will see there will be a total of 12 different phases. You will see it doesn't correspond to single or multi-family. There will be crossover between the two along the phases, just because each phase we are asking for improvements. That's why they are timing. Okay, one very big aspect that I would like to discuss with you guys is the connections. You see, unlike previous subdivision where would you have one connection similar to the one to the west, this is going to have the maximum number we could get. So the main one will be here, Union. There will be another one from Cloverdale.
No.
Okay, you can ask me after I'm done if you don't mind. Okay.
There's no asking, it's telling you.
Okay, fair enough. Cloverdale, there will be another access point here, but it depends on the possibility of having agreement between the applicant here and the owners of the land here. There will be another 2 going south here in the future, if possible. So,
Where does those south ones connect to though? Like where would they, in the future?
Rabbit Ranch.
Rabbit Ranch.
so the idea is we cannot acquire the land outside of the site. So any connection will work out if you are doing a subdivision and you are planning for it. Unfortunately, in the past, some of the neighboring subdivision did not take this into account. So there's a limitation here of what we can do. And we actually had weeks and weeks of discussion between our engineer and the engineers that worked on the study. Some of it, nobody can control because it was not designed before. However, we are trying to make the best out of it. And I have to say, I'm not here talking about anyone specifically. There was a lot of flexibility from the developer about, knowing that it's very difficult to do, but they knew that it's a requirement we have.
Yeah, but it's arbitrary. If there's no way to know what way you can or can't do it in the future, there's no way to connect it.
Some of it will actually build cul-de-sacs connecting. Some of it, I know that they will talk about potentially having this one with the property owners here. The other ones here, it will depend on what will happen in the future. So some of it, of course, yes, we are not sure about, but the fact, because when you actually build connection, you are losing land a lot. So the willingness to do it, even though you are not sure, this is all what we could do as a city.
Right. But the developer's asking us to approve something that he can't confirm that he can do.
Exactly. Exactly.
Actually, you are the one who asked for it, not the developer.
Right,
Just to
but
be clear.
as far as we're concerned for the city, I'm in concurrence with a lot of the comments, the fact that you can't have one in and out. And right now, you're only showing one guaranteed in and out for 400+ homes, or 700+ homes. And you can't guarantee that in the future, any of this is gonna happen. Whether it's
Exactly.
connected to Cloverdale or the back
We
ones.
can guarantee Cloverdale because the city already, when it is done.
No.
done.
You ain't coming up close.
No,
I'm talking from a legal point of view.
You can't guarantee Cloverdale, because that's
Cloverdale
development.
might be able to happen, but the other one,
Y'all had your comments, and this is our meeting for the commission. So please, hold you.
The traffic impact study that we were given, I do have concern with it. It was completed in August 22, and as we know, there's, in a short time, there's been a lot of moving and shaking through there.
We can ask for this actually to be a,
Revised.
that's fine.
I'm not comfortable with it, how, since it was August, that's 16 months ago when this was done, and there's been a lot happening in between that time, and I think that there's a lot, it was projected to 2030, I believe, and I don't believe these newer considered projects were
they weren't even on the books yet.
well, they looked
Right,
at
I agree.
historical records and historical growth, and I think you could conclude that this is an unhistorical growth in this area. And I think that it probably needs to be a further study on this area as the impact of the traffic. Because whatever requirement is just basically three things, and it's widening in certain areas.
Mhm.
And with certain projects that are, in the works or possibly could come along, I would really feel good if that was studied again.
I think it needs to be widened from.
I'll tell you what I know.
Union Station all the way through Green Hill.
All the way.
This morning we had a meeting with our engineer. He was actually in-person meeting to go over all of this. Again, it's not my domain. He said that he feels very comfortable with it as it is and it's being accurate. But again, if you like, we can definitely, and Ginger, she asked for updating the study.
Who feels comfortable with it?
Our engineer.
I don't feel comfortable with it.
I don't.
I think it's a big decision. I mean, that's just me personally. We're just talking this out as a body. I don't know if they amended or do a new traffic study, but I think that there's additional information that needs to be included into that.
Fair enough. I believe you can ask the
That could
condition.
be put in as a
The
condition.
condition to be amended before it goes to the.
We can ask for anything we want from this.
And if this, whatever the outcome is different, it has to come back to the planning commission.
Is there anything on the books that we know of DOT, like the state doing anything with widening our roads here? Because I know not all the roads here are owned by Shelbyville. We have a lot of roads where DOT, like the Tennessee DOT needs to get involved on the front end.
Right.
Before we start getting these major, impacts on our roads, because once it's done, it's done. There is no widening a road once a house is in the way. You have to have that on the front end versus on the hind end.
That's a very good point. Actually, we did it over the whole year. So we just had the last meeting, virtual meeting 2 weeks ago. TDOT is not looking at widening anything in the near future. And as far as the study goes, they're okay with it and all the recommendations. So we have the approval.
I agree, but I don't wanna become Shelbyville where we have to put a moratorium on development just because we didn't think ahead of time. And that's what happened in, Mount Juliet. So Mount Juliet had to put a moratorium on development because they started letting the developers come in and boom, 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 and suddenly they're like, oh, we thought we can handle it and now we can't. So we need to make sure that we're on the front end with that and getting the development happening on the infrastructure first before we go arbitrarily approving major developments coming through that we assume we can handle, but we don't know because we haven't been there yet. This is new to everybody here in Shelbyville, and the growth is astronomical. Murfreesboro thought about it on the front end. They had their infrastructure built first. They built their roads first, they had the subdivisions done first, and then the development started, then the malls started coming, then the housing started coming. They did their infrastructure first. Mount Juliet didn't. Mount Juliet just let it come, and then they were stuck. And they had to put a moratorium on the development. And I know you weren't here in Tennessee at the time, so I'm just kind of giving you a little history, but I don't want to become Mount Juliet.
So, if I
Correct.
understood you correctly, and correct me if I'm mistaken, what we're talking about, potentially a condition to amend or update the study, and if the outcome is different from what you guys have seen, it comes back to you, it will go back to the council. Am I correct?
Or are you asking to defer?
I'm asking to defer
I think
this
defer.
approval.
Defer?
from HUD.
They're asking you to defer.
Okay.
I think I'll be more comfortable with the deferment now. I'm not sure of our timetable on
You
that.
can do it next month.
Would
It
that
will,
be
it will,
feasible?
it will depend on the engineer being able to do it.
Then you can ask them to agree.
We have to ask the applicant to agree, otherwise, if you defer it just by decision, they only have a month. Am I correct? Yeah.
In 30 days.
So does the applicant agree,
I
and is the applicant present?
I believe he's here. Give me a second here, if you don't mind.
Big crowd.
Is Steve here? Hey, Steve? I don't know if you could hear us or not. Okay, so they're asking now for deferring it to update the study, the traffic study. If you agree with that, they can give you unlimited time, because I don't know how long it will take your engineer. If they impose it on you, you have only 30 days to make the changes that they're asking for.
Are you wanting a brand new traffic study or just update?
Well, yeah, it would, I guess, essentially be a new one, with, you know, with developments that have come in that area that I don't think were considered when this was done in August 22. If you could, yeah, it would essentially be a new one, but an amended one with,
I think
It
it
would
has to
be
be
an
new.
update.
I think it has to
It
be
would be
new
an
because
update.
we want a
it
larger
would be a
scope.
new, yeah.
We want a larger.
Okay, can I ask you for a favor here, so to avoid any misunderstanding? Usually when you do a study, when you go to any engineer, they will have to ask you for what you wanna look at. So do you know what you would like to look at that is not here?
I'd like to look at I would like to expand the scope. You know,
Okay, just let me take notes here.
Well, Wally, I got a question here, I just thought,
Sure.
I'm skipping ahead.
Yeah.
One agenda item coming up, we got another one coming up on Jennings Lane. So obviously you're gonna ask for the same thing. Do they share the traffic study or
I
what?
think it's the density that concerns us here.
It's definitely the density of 700 vehicles, you know, you're talking 2 vehicles per, so that's 1,400 vehicles coming in and out of there on a 1-lane road.
An
We don't
R1
even have 2 lanes there.
And if you did an R1, you would get out of that so many acres, let's say 300, you know, houses out of that. I'm just kind of spitballing. If you take common areas and roads out, you know, as opposed to the high density here, which is an obvious large strain on the infrastructure. And I think that as far as the traffic study, it's with the growing area already with what Union Station has experienced out there, Union Heights, and then these you know, you've got Jocelyn's in the middle of it. You've got a couple proposed projects. We'd like for those projects to be addressed, or those proposed projects to be addressed, and to see how that would impact that. If all those were approved, or if they
If
weren't.
they all come to fruition, it's gonna be a nightmare. But aside from that, even our downtown streets of Shelbyville handling an extra 1,400 vehicles. I mean, it's not necessarily just the Union impact, it's the impact throughout the whole city of Shelbyville, where we have 2-lane roads with an extra 1,400 vehicles coming our way, and that's just one subdivision. That's not the 150 subdivisions we've already approved over the past year that this doesn't even take into consideration.
I guess I like my engineering here, and let him understand what you guys are asking for.
Maybe the chair.
Well, I got one question. I remember back, it was back in the summer, we had this discussion when we knew this was coming. That at some point, we didn't know in what fashion, but we knew it was coming. There was a discussion about paying fees and the lot fees and all that, and the developer didn't want to pay all that at one time. He was gonna do this in sections, and
Well,
wanted to
that's
do it
why
so many at a time.
but we turned around
So
and paid all.
I take it from that this isn't gonna be like y'all are gonna come in here and all of a sudden, boom, this is developed and it's
No.
there. This is gonna take years to come down the
We're
road, if I'm not,
making a 10-year project.
10 years. So it'd be 10 years before this would be full. Is that what I'm understanding?
That's what we're doing.
Okay, that's,
Mr. Chair,
I just wanna
It
get
depends
clear
on
how
sales.
soon this is gonna be done.
okay, I'll just tell you this is why we asked for the phasing.
That's just hot.
Okay, that's the phases.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're numbered as,
Yes.
which would go first.
Number one goes first because we have to put the sewer all the way on the backside and put in a pumping station. So that's why we come off the main road and do the road all the way to the rear and did lots on both sides.
Will the townhouses be concurrent, with the phases there?
We will do a phase one concurrent with phase one of the single family.
How many
That
is
doesn't mean going forward that they will
Correct,
be
correct.
How many is in phase one?
It's, you actually add 61 plus 64, so 125.
Okay.
How much of the acreage is commercial for this to be proposed to be self-sufficient? Because the
It's not some
commercial,
acres,
I'm sorry,
it's over 9 acres commercial.
9 acres.
Just we, over 100.
How that's gonna be self-sufficient. Grocery stores.
Well, do you anticipate an anchor?
It's not, 9 acres.
Okay. So, is your engineer here? You say you want to ask your engineer something, is he here? or-
Yeah.
Hold on.
He can answer the traffic study. They're discussing update, we want a new traffic study. And expandment, so.
Hi, everybody. Chris McGuire, Coastal Steel Engineering, out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. We did get an independent third-party traffic study done by Rich Phillips. He does a very thorough, good traffic study. He got existing day counts and did a projection based off distribution on our built-out development. And also projected the potential growth in the area within his study. And his recommendations were to make 2 road improvements, one at the end of Cloverdale and one at 231. Or Union.
41.
Yeah, yes, sir.
That's it,
What we would like is something updated. This one was done in 2022. Since that time, there's been, I think there was something, last month with Brad's Market, there might be commercial in there, that area also. And then the Jennings Lane project, also, and I think, that wasn't accounted for. I know typical growth was accounted for, but I think this is a non-typical growth that we've got going on in this area, especially including with this. And we would like, for that study to take those into account, those projected things.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that? Is there?
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
So the question for you guys, how long would it take you?
If we use the same third-party engineering, they'd have to hire another traffic counting. I would say it'd probably be a month.
Are you comfortable with deferring this issue until this is complete?
My recommendation for you guys, if you don't ask for deferring it, you will have to submit it within 30 days, which I believe is very ambitious. That's just what you do. So I know the guy usually take over 60 days after every day.
We can talk to them and see.
Okay, so you might
But
want
they
to,
gotta make a decision. So if they want the traffic study, I think we need to, so they want to update the traffic study. I don't see any reason pushing it through with that unless we get traffic study.
and so that we are on the same page. I know you mentioned what you would like to see. Can you repeat it so actually we can capture it?
Okay, and the scope, maybe expand it out to Max Street, to past, Union Heights, I guess, on past Union Heights, several hundred feet, and then with those concerns that I mentioned, but we would like the scope to be a little bit larger on that. Thank you.
And based on that, you guys can have a meeting with our engineer just so that we're also in the loop before you start doing it.
And I guess if it's okay, I'd love to hear any other items that maybe y'all would like addressed that we can be working on in the meantime, if you have any.
On the design standards and the pattern book, there seems to be, I guess, conformity, same color, same, are y'all gonna be differentiating the color or the zigzag, I forgot the word, the exterior like on our the design
We
standards?
can talk about this.
The ones that I saw were kinda straight and maybe if we could get a little offset, you know, a
Yes,
little
okay.
more quality development, I mean, like someone said here, that's gonna be here for forever if it did come through and we would like.
So elevation wise within the book, you'd like to see some more detail on how the fronts vary and color.
Do y'all? I mean,
And we are not dictating the color you choose, we just want it to be very.
Stylistic.
Yes.
I'd like to know where the green space is on this project that's conforming to 5% of the overall development, because it seems like there's a lot of lots that don't have much green, like, especially in the townhome area where you have all these back-to-back townhomes and no play area for the children, and if this back lot here is what it is, it doesn't seem to be designed quite efficiently to accommodate for green space and actual usage of the green space. Like, just having green space is one thing, but accessibility and, the convenience of the children, children having to have places to go.
A good point. Actually, we had a lot of discussion about it, and I know the applicant was hesitant about moving into the center area, but we can talk about it.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily move it to the center, because I think a development like this needs more than one central play place. You don't want your townhome, residents having to go all the way to the back half of the single-family residence to play, and you, vice versa. You don't want your single family coming all the way to the front. And then within that, you have 11 phases, and of 11 phases, how many green spaces are proposed in each 11 phase of this project for just activity? Basketball court, soccer pit area, like anything for the children to do and
I
play?
think we had 6 or 7 proposed amenity areas.
Was it all in the single family, or was there some in the?
We had some in phase 2 through 5 of the townhomes,
2 through 5 of the townhomes down here,
and then
okay.
we had some up in 6 in the townhomes. We had some in
Can
phase.
you show me on here where they're
Yes,
at?
ma'am.
Cause I don't, to me, all I see is that house.
Yeah, well, we have a phasing plan, but I don't know if y'all got that. So this is all walking trail and the dog
This
park.
here?
Yeah. And then up here was a sports field and a mail kiosk. Over here, let's see, we had a playground back here, a secondary dog park down here. We had a.
It's so small, if you please want it, so landscape.
Yeah.
Please don't call.
No, I know. So this is the mail, one more question. If this is the mail kiosk back here, then what is this, the road that goes down here? And this mail kiosk and a little playground there?
We would rather want to be, this one is just for what is gonna be built in the chain. So this focus only on the buildings and not the space.
No, this is focusing on the specific phasing, I understand that.
Okay.
So Steve, any more questions for the applicant guys?
So traffic studies basically, it, Bo had a few comments on the design, other than that.
We need to make a motion for this, or we good with the agreement,
He can agree to a waive, it's actually 60 days, I looked it in there, yeah. 60 days from tonight to make your decision, but they can agree to waive that,
Okay.
bring it back, but he needs to send that to you in writing.
Okay, we look traffic study.
Thank you.
Thank you.